Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Birds on a Blue Note, joined today by RJ, fellow community captain, and Zach over here. And today we're going to jump in and talk about the NL Central, already a week in, and things are starting off hot. I'll kick it off to you guys. What are your thoughts this first week?
Go ahead, Zach.
Really exciting. I think it's most of the stuff that we wanted to see as Cardinal fans for sure, at least in the first week. The Dodgers series was going to be tough, and I think everybody kind of knew that there was going to be a lot of hype in that building. It was going to be a really tough series. But bouncing back against San Diego the way we did, and the first game against Miami as well. That's comeback wins, late inning. We're capitalizing on mistakes by the other team. Those are really big things that I was looking for, and the pitching's been solid. I mean, that's can't really ask much more for him. So, what about you?
As far as the Central is concerned right now, I think they're outplaying expectations. I know we're only like a week and a half in, so obviously too early to tell. Things change quickly. But we're the only division right now in baseball that has every team in it 500 or better. And I think there's only one other division in baseball right now that has one team that has a team under 500. Everyone else has multiple teams under 500. So Central's looking pretty good so far. Best division in baseball, maybe.
And young, and very young, for sure.
Very young. And I
Lots
think
of talent for sure.
And it isn't too surprising with the schedule. Obviously, it could have gone a few different ways with some of these teams, but to see Pirates start off, really hot. Even
Mason too.
Milwaukee walked off tonight on a walk-off walk.
Walk off
You know,
walk.
No, yeah, they're
four
Literally
five and
straight,
one now.
the whole
four
way
straight
around the bases.
walks,
No hits.
four
No
straight
hits.
walks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 walks.
It's a good way to win if you're a Brewers fan, but here we are sitting at 500 and at the bottom. But again, we are 5% of the season in, so definitely way too early to fret at
Yeah,
all.
starting 4 in LA is it's pretty tough.
Well,
Pretty tough.
and then going to San Diego after that. It's not like we went and just played a bunch of
Right.
pushovers at all versus, I think Pirates have had Nationals and Marlins up until this point, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah, absolutely.
Cubs just got done with the Rockies. They're currently playing the Dodgers. They actually put up 9 on the Dodgers today.
And how about Seiya
Bobby
Suzuki?
Miller. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it is something else. Been-
That dude is crazy this year so far. And even in spring training, he was just crushing the ball.
I have him on my fantasy team, but I've benched him on like all his good days.
Really?
Gotta
Yeah,
love how that
Christopher
works.
Morel's crushing the ball too for him. So it's
Yeah, and they don't even have a PCA up yet. So Cubs are like they have a bright future too. I hate to say it, they're the Cubs. We don't want them to succeed,
right.
but they've done some things right in the last couple of years. I know people like to hate on Ricketts the last couple, the Cubs fans at least. They think he's being cheap, kind of like we have some fans over here that wishes we would spend more.
200
Um,
million.
yeah, it's not uncommon. A lot of fan bases have that complaint.
Right. 100%.
But as far as like player development and drafting and trading for the right prospects, I think they got him for Javi Baez, who's terrible now.
Right.
Yeah.
They're doing some
Yeah.
things right for sure.
Right. I think Cincinnati's another really young team that's super, super fun. I think their biggest question is like, is the pitching going to be able to keep up with the young bats? I know Lodolo hasn't really lived up to expectations and stuff as well over there, but super, super
Yeah, and
young,
they
fun
just got
team.
blessed by the draft lotto gods too. Get the number
Oh
2
my
pick.
gosh.
Probably gonna get like a Nick Kurtz or Caglione, or it's Kurtz.
Well, and that's the thing to me. It's going to be real interesting once all the central teams start playing each other to see how this division really starts to sort out. There might be a bunch of alternating battles where, you're taking 2 here, losing 2 there,
For sure.
So
Yeah, I think the one that surprises me the most, to be honest, is the Brewers. I mean,
100%.
they sold. Like Burns is gone, Woodruff is gone, Brault is the ace now. Williams is he's still hurt, right? So like, or is Williams back? Williams is back right now.
Trevor or the closer?
Devin, yeah, Devin.
Devin, I don't think he's back yet. Not that I don't think
So
so.
they're all-star closers out, and they just keep winning.
Reese Hoskins, man, that he came out of the gate with his hair on his butt. That was fun. That first series, it was fun. Then Jackson Churio, obviously, as well. That dude's electric. He's super, super fun to watch as well. I think they have a lot of energy on that team.
Yeah, they gave him the big extension before he even played.
Right. He's
rare.
kind of living up to his 5 games, but he's doing what you want to see. So
Well, the thing is too, again, a lot of these schedules, it's too early. We don't know how these teams are gonna shape out. Like the Mets coming into the season, I know they dropped payroll a bit, but like people were still expecting them to compete, and right now they're barely doing any of that. So it's just gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out at the end.
right.
But a lot of interesting results for sure to
Yeah,
say.
very young division for sure. And the Pirates have Skeens on the way too. Eventually, they think he may be up by the end of the year to make a debut, or hopefully next season at the latest. That should be a fun division for years to come, assuming thing at least half the things play out the way they're supposed to, which is baseball. It probably won't. But
Yeah, I don't have a number on it, but we have to be the youngest division in the league by far. And that's kind of crazy to think about whenever how the winning percentage here.
unless you count our pitching staff.
Right, 100%. Absolutely.
That throws us up, but not everybody else.
Right.
Well, our lineup, I think this is the first time in like 100 years we had, what, 4 opening day starters that were 23 or younger?
Over
Right,
100.
100%. And then there's a few more that were, Donnie's only 27. I mean, there's Wilson Contreras only 31. I think Nato is 33 and 34 for, I think, Nato and Goldie. That's still a very young positional player group. And consider what we have had with Yachty
22, 23.
22, I think, or that's all. But yeah.
And then we have Herrera, who looks really good. I've been super impressed by him. He hit the home run yesterday. Even before that, I've been super impressed by his presence behind the plate, his pitch calling, his ability to just eat the ball up underneath the zone, kind of similar to how Yachty used to do it. Tully's been working on it a lot. I know when he came up initially, he was supposed to be like a hitting catcher first and kind of defense on the back, but you can tell he's been working on the defense a lot. So,
oh yeah, and I mean, any last thoughts on like the division right now? I know it's again still really early, so there isn't too much to dive into.
Any favorites?
Here.
Any favorites so far? Anything that we're seeing that who do you think's gonna win the division?
Brewers and Pirates, I think, are going to both fall off. I think it's going to be a 3-team race.
I agree.
It's a total toss-up right now. I mean, we have the luxury of being a second half team traditionally. So it's just going to be a question of, can we keep ourselves close enough to whoever's in the lead?
Where we got the tough part of our schedule early on too. So
yeah.
Yeah, so, these other teams haven't gone through the gauntlet yet of playing the West Coast, LA, San Diego.
No.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing, like he said,
7-game road trip
to start the season.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Bobby Miller,
I know the Cubs are all on the road.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Right.
The corpse of Shohei.
Oh goodness. It's crazy. All right. So moving on then, with all these injuries and a lot of our guys playing well that are the replacements coming up, leaves us in this interesting position as a team because obviously there's only so many guys you can have on the roster at a time. And do you demote somebody ultimately that has been doing well, like a Victor Scott, or do you leave him in center and just mess up everything else and throw a whole wrench into the thing by playing Newton right or Newton left, and having Eddie, roam wherever he needs to be that particular day. Maybe he's just a utility guy giving everybody a break every single day, and he's getting in. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Oh man, I have conflicting feelings on that. Victor Scott's electric. Even when he's not hitting, he's making an impact on the game. I posted something earlier in the community, in the Bleacher Report community today. We have the most advances on like fly balls, on pass balls, wild pitches, balks, anything like that. We've taken 20 extra bases, whereas the next best team in this span has been 15. And a lot of that is Victor Scott and Mason Wynn. And you've seen a little bit of the growth from Walker in right field too, and I feel like having someone like Scott in center field is invaluable to that, knowing that if Scott's not near it, it's not his. Like I can go all out. I don't have to worry about colliding with my center fielder.
Donnie too, to an
Um,
extent. Donnie isn't an outfielder all the time, so that helps with him as well. Being comfortable out there whenever he's probably just going to go back to second in a week.
Yep. That being said, Scott hasn't really hit that much yet. I feel like once Newt comes back, he'll be the first one back. They'll probably plug him in center, and Scott will have to be a casualty of too many outfielders on the roster, because he needs every day at bats. Siani's more fourth outfielder. Victor Scott needs to play every day. So if it's not going to be with a big club, he needs to play every day in AAA. It sucks, but that's what happens, and we do need Newt back too. We definitely need good on base guys near the top of our lineup, and he provides that for sure. It's unfortunate. It's just how it is, I think. What are you guys' thoughts?
I agree.
I have a couple of thoughts really on it. The first big one for me is Scott's, I think, exit velo is at 93 miles an hour. He's the fastest guy in the league. He's hitting the ball really, really hard. So it's not like he's struggling. I know with Walker, at times we saw where he's crushing the ball. Burley is a big one who crushes the ball just in bad luck.
Yeah, he's the BABIP. He upset the BABIP gods somehow. It was the same way last season for him, like all year long. No matter what he did, he couldn't buy hits.
Right. But I think really overall what this does to the team is it allows us to be able to stack like the Dodgers. So I think the reason why we haven't been able to go out and trade for a young guy or really stack up the way we want to is we haven't really had this kind of situations happen where we have too many guys. It seems like really last few years, especially on the position player side, we'll lose a bunch of outfielders and the season looks rough really, really quickly.
O'Neal Carlson, hurt.
Right, 100%, absolutely, or especially the O'Neal Carlson year. That gets really, really hard to do. But it puts us in a unique position to be able to make a move, to be able to just stockpile. I mean, it seems like every time the Dodgers or Tampa Bay or a few of these teams, any guy gets hurt, they have 2 or 3 guys that are more than capable to come up and replace him. I think that's the right thing to do on that. But I also think if we get to August and we have to make a trade, it's a really, really good spot to be at.
Deal from depth. Absolutely.
I just don't like to use the Rays as a comparable team because they always go through those cycles where they reload, suck, get draft picks, sell off assets. We don't do that. That is not how the Cardinals do things. They're constantly trying to put forth a winning team. And well, last year obviously was a huge, blow up and shit in their face. At the end of the day, they're reloaded. And that requires constantly moving prospects for proven commodities. So you're constantly going to have these guys looking, if you do hindsight, you're always going to be like, oh yeah, we traded away an all-star. It's like, yeah, but we traded away them for an all-star at the moment.
Right.
So and Marcell Ozuna, yeah.
Yeah, he was a runner-up MVP. I mean,
he came off 37 bombs, like 120 RBIs.
For example. Yeah, exactly.
Gold glove.
Gold glove. How did that happen?
Yeah.
I never saw that part of his game, but okay.
but I'll add this as well. But I think Scott's got to be the guy in center. I'm not just to kind of disagree with you a little bit. I don't really see a world where you don't keep that kind of excitement in the lineup. I mean, him and Mason Wynn back to back on the bottom of that order, or 7th and 9th, however they do it that day, is electric. And I think that's been able to turn over the lineup and be able to cause more runs. I don't really like him bat leadoff. I know when Donnie's back or Newt's back, he's not going to do that just yet. But hitting 9th, that's so valuable with that glove. I just don't see how you could send him down with he's going to get the bats early,
You can because Eddie's a Gold Glover too. At the
end.
Well,
when Eddie gets back, it's a different story. But I'm saying with just Newt. Yeah.
With just Newt, yeah, I can see him staying up and whatnot. But
Eddie's a Gold Glover, not in center though. So that's
Here's the thing though, is like we bring back Newt and we keep Scott out in center. Now we have to figure out second base DH between Donovan, Gorman, and whoever else we're trying to find playing for at the time.
Yeah, that could get tough too with Sagasi as well. He might be knocking on the door pretty quickly. And
all that guy does is hit.
The other guy we got from the Orioles, the Cesar Prieto, He's
Fredo,
crushing his play so far as well. I think he's at like 360.
yeah, someone was saying earlier. Oh no, it was, Bleacher Report released an article saying we should trade for Luis Arias. It's like,
Oh God.
what, you need 5, 6 second baseman? What are
Yeah,
you
man.
doing here?
The bleacher is ridiculous with that stuff. But I mean, so we've covered position side, but with pitching, I think Thompson just immediately goes back to the bullpen. He hasn't
Oh
shown
yes,
enough so far to earn that spot from
but
anybody else
he was
on
good in
the
the bullpen that year because he was throwing 95, 97. But he was throwing 93, 94 as a starter last year.
roster.
He's hitting 90, 91. If he's throwing 94 at the pen, his stuff doesn't really play at the pen the same way as it does at 97.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, he just hasn't shown enough like he did during spring training to keep
Right.
that. And everybody else has been producing in their
Doesn't throw
starts so
enough
far.
strikes.
Yeah.
Struggling to stay in the zone.
He could just use that extra space. I mean, he did his job. He filled in while Sonny's been out. But yeah, it'll be nice to get him back for the end of the Phillies series, if not Diamondbacks, just depending on what he's feeling. No need to rush a hammy injury. Make sure that thing's going well before you're getting out and pitching and whatnot. Any other, casualties you guys can see so far?
Well, I mean, once Edmund and Newt both come back, then that's probably the end of the line for Ciani, who's been impressive defensively out there. He's been admirable. I don't think he has a hit, and Chip keeps saying he hasn't had a hit since 2022. Every time it comes up, I feel bad. It's like it just roll into one or something.
I just assumed he was a casualty. I didn't even think he
Yeah.
needed to be mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely
I mean,
Does he have options?
roster space.
I actually don't know. I'd have to look into that.
I just want to know whether we're going to DFA him or what's going to be the deal with that. So,
Not sure.
Was he called up as part of a corresponding move for an IL? Because if not, then yeah, we'd have to DFA him. But if he was called up,
I think I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you.
we'll have to check that out. We can cover that again later in an update.
Right.
Awesome. So, last but not least, gonna move on to prospects. We have a wonderful young farm coming up with a lot of guys towards the top of that. We don't have much in the middle section right
Right.
now. But our AAA team is looking nice and stacked. I mean, who are some prospects you guys are interested in?
Well, obviously, I have to talk about Tink Hence, right?
Yeah.
Made his debut for Springfield today, so AA. He's a top prospect. He's just playing in AA. 5 no-hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. You would like to see the swing and miss and more in the future, but it's hard to complain when you don't give up any hits. He's been mighty impressive. It's something that's been talked about a lot with the Cardinals is their I don't want to call it ineptitude. We've had some unfortunate luck with developing a top line starter that sticks with us long term. They either have been getting hurt or we've traded them away, like we mentioned earlier. And in hindsight, yeah, I know who could have predicted Alcantara and Gallon. Gallon was our 16th ranked prospect at the time. No one knew he was going to be who he is now. But yeah, Tink Hence. He had the slider working. He had the fastball hitting 97, 98. Looked good, looked nasty first start of the season, but he's the guy that we're all kind of hoping for. It turns into our long-term frontline ace type starter.
Yeah, real good use of a pick, another Flores find there. He really is. That man knows how to work a draft. I don't know what it is,
My
but
goodness.
he has that scouting team working overtime. Whatever it is, whatever they are, that whole because obviously it's not just Flores. Like major props to our scouting department for finding
100%.
all these diamonds in the rough. That is not easy to do,
A lot
especially
of work.
word gets out when a guy is good at the end of the day.
We're taking high risk prospects to an extent for a lot of these big guys that are working out. With the Mason Wins, who's a 2-way player, or the
Jordan Walker was
I was going to say Jordan Walker
risk.
and Nolan
He's
Gorman.
Walker's got unbelievable power, but he's so big and You know, those tall guys don't always work out. You know, Aaron Judge is a freak because he's so tall and he's good. It doesn't usually work out that way. So yeah, he's done phenomenal with that.
Gorman's another great example of that as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, we just keep finding them, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Davis. I still have hope for him. He's
Yeah, oh,
still
yeah,
a young kid. Like, let
100%.
him get through his seasoning. Let some of this pressure go off. I think it's good that his name's not being mentioned a lot right now. I think that's good for him
Oh
to
yeah,
get some of that off. But I still like his tools, what I see ultimately from him.
I
I feel like
really
And
the
like
swing
Gates
change.
Davis as well. He was a first
Yeah,
round for a reason.
oh yeah.
he had a big swing change I saw, or not swing change so much as the stride, but he got rid of that Carlos Gonzalez looking big.
Yes, I saw that as well. He's also swinging through with both hands as opposed to letting the bat go like he was last season. Also, I don't know if you picked
Yeah,
up.
so I like the adjustments. First year, he saw what he was struggling with, and obviously did something about it. So that's good to see.
No, that's really good. And yeah, obviously anything good coming from Tank is fantastic. We need that young pitching, young controllable arms.
Unless we sign another 1 year Lance Lynn and another 1 year Kyle Gibson.
Hey, that's what they
You can
have
figure it
options
out soon.
for. We don't need to sign him again. We just need to use those options.
Yeah.
No, but hopefully he's good. RJ, how about you? Who's somebody you're high on right now?
Well, I already mentioned Tink Hens.
Oh,
Uh,
So
for me,
yep.
that's Roby. It's got to be Takeo Roby. The way you feel about Tink Hens is the way I feel about him. I got a chance to see him a couple times, and dude's electric. Really, the first time I saw him, I saw Victor Scott go climb 12 feet. It felt like to rob a home run for him. But the this stuff's electric. He has a good curveball. He's got a lot of fire on the mound. I think he gets to like 97. Repeatable delivery. There's not really a whole lot I don't like about him. I think the command could be a little bit better. I think he's got some arm issues, but if he didn't have the arm issues, there was no way we were going to get him from Texas. They
oh,
had really great stuff and pretty good stats beforehand. And it was really, I think, just a year and a half before he'd only been in their system for a year and a half before they traded him to us. And about half of that time he was hurt. So if he can stay healthy, we can build on that. That's a diamond in the rough. He's really, really good. I've seen him a few times. So him and
leaning
Robin Cho. But go ahead.
leaning
Sorry.
in, leaning in on the Texas trade, getting not just him, but Sagasi as well. Like those
Huge,
two.
huge. Even if we don't keep Sagasi, because like we already mentioned, we have so many
Yeah.
second basemen, and we hope they
Right.
all work out, but baseball is going to baseball, and one of these guys is going to get hurt or not live up to expectations. But perfect world, Gorman mashes and Donovan keeps being Donovan.
But what a
Sagasi
great
is the
trade.
type of
What a great trade that was.
Oh my
We
God,
got
goodness! All those trades were good. Every single one of those trades at the deadline worked out
for
amazingly for
for a
us.
half year of Monty. Like, don't get me wrong, Rangers won, so they get like a nice little
World
trophy
Series.
and
Yeah, that's
everything. But Monty was walking at the end of the season. I don't care what anybody says. He wasn't coming back here. If he wanted to sign a $25 million 1 year deal with us, he would have offered that from the get-go, and he probably would have been signed on that, you
and we
know?
went for Sagasi
Yeah. But
and Roby.
it just isn't the case. But you were gonna say something about Cho, right?
Yeah, that's just a big guy that's going to be really exciting to see this year. I think he has the chance to have the biggest breakout year. I think he's just now 19 or I think 19. He's in high A. That's just going to be super fun
I
to.
think
Was it
he just turned 20.
just turned 20?
But
So
still.
apologize, absolutely. So super young.
No.
No, for sure, absolutely. But dude's super young, has awesome swing, a lot of swagger, and I think that's gonna be the guy that might have the in a similar sense the Victor Scott year, where he's eighth, 10th, and might just jump up. I know Scott was closer to 20, but in the same kind of sense.
I like his work ethic.
Absolutely, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the number one prospect for us at the end of the year. He might have that kind of year.
That would be huge
I would
year.
be I would be a bit surprised if he jumped up to our number one, but I could definitely see him having a really good year and
It's him.
whatnot.
It's him or whoever we draft. I just see most of the guys that we have up top are really close to the majors right now. So we
You're
might have
assuming that they
might,
lose their prospect, like a Hens or like
Ah,
a Scott
right.
loses their prospect status, and yeah,
And win. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Wynn's
So,
gonna lose it for sure. He's our
obviously, I
shortstop.
think he just did actually. To be honest with you, I think with the look, he wasn't on there anymore. But
yeah, it depends on what list you look at, but yeah, I think he's off of our prospect list
right.
officially. at this point.
Trevor, you mentioned Chase Davis earlier. He kind of struggled last year, and you're really high on him. I have another guy kind of like that. It's Josh Baez. Had a
Mm.
rough year last season, but he's still got like all the raw talent, everything you look for in a baseball player. He's got. He's too much swing and miss. I would like to see the adjustments he makes this year after his first, I guess, full season in the minors last season. Because he's got like middle of the order potential if he figures it out. We have a lot of guys like that right now, so we just need a couple of them to get it right. And our possible future outfield has a lot of potential, like between Walker and Scott and Baez and Cho and
And the
Davis.
infield. Like
Yep,
we
the
said,
infield.
we
And
have
there's that kid
enough
from
we have enough mid infielders to choke a whore.
right. There's that kid from Boston College that we got in the second round. I can't think of what his name is right now. He ended up playing last year.
Last year's draft.
Let's see here.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
That's what the internet's for, thank goodness.
Right. I kept wanting to say Honeywell, but it's not. That's not it. It's
Let's see. I typed in Cardinals 2023 draft picks and it gives me the Arizona Cardinals. Should have known better.
Yeah, should have known better.
Travis Honeyman.
Honeyman. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So he's another dude who will be. He could end up being really good as well. I know he crushed the ball. I mean, his exit belows at Boston College were really, really impressive. Super athletic. I think he might be somebody to watch out for as well. Another guy I want to point out is Ivan Herrera. I mean, I know we mentioned it earlier, but how much playing time do we really see him getting this year?
I could see him in at least 100 games, to be totally
Really?
honest.
Wow.
He'll either DH or he'll flip catching duties with Wilson to keep Wilson fresh. I mean, that seems to be the template for most teams these days. There's not very many teams that have like a full-time catcher, 162,
Right.
like we were used to with Yachty for so many years.
I see him getting about 40 to 60 games in at catcher, maybe some spots in at DH. It's just going to depend on how the season's going,
That's
obviously.
about what I was thinking as well.
If Wilson can stay healthy and he can stay healthy, there's going to be a lot of switching them around, utilizing that DH position.
But that's another position on our team that might just be made really, really complicated if another kid starts hitting a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Carlson coming back. That's another guy. Eventually, you would think. Hot take, I would have traded him, but we have him, so he's a Cardinal. I'm going to root for him.
Yep.
We want everyone to do well.
Yeah, so that looks like it's actually all of our time for tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, time just
Absolutely.
flies by when we're chatting Cardinals, obviously. But any final thoughts in this last minute, guys, before we head out for the night?
What do you see from the rest of the Marlins series? What are you looking for, I guess, is a better question.
I want to sweep now at this point.
Absolutely. I think we lost a couple heartbreakers. I'd like to be able to take all three from the Marlins. And the other thing is I want to see Scott get some hits. Let's see some drop. That's one thing I really just want to look for from him is consistent contact and get on base. He hasn't been on base at all to even make really much of an impact.
What I'm looking for, I guess, more than anything, is more consistency from the offense. We're near the bottom, we're near the bottom in most offensive categories, but there's too much talent on this team to stay that way. Let's just get some consistency put together.
We're hitting better.
Put together. Yeah, we had a crooked number yesterday. To pull that one out, just would like to see a few more. Think we lost Zach.
Oh, yep. Well, anyways, that is our time for today. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Birds on a Blue Note. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care.